I'm Julian.
I'm Hannah. We recently graduated from New Falls High School, and this spring we traveled to Nepal. We were both really close with Maya, and so we wanted to share our experience in Nepal, and we also wanted to share who Maya was as a person, and why this trip was so meaningful to us.
So, is it on? Yeah. Maya and I didn't know each other that well until 8th grade, when she started dating one of my friends. Then freshman year, we had the same schedule, and we started spending a lot of time together. We created a study group every Tuesday that didn't actually like to study. We would buy each other souvenirs whenever one of us went on vacation. That summer, we spent a lot of time longboarding around and doing normal 15-year-old people things. We had some drama here and there with friends and stuff, as I do at that age, but most of my memories of Maya are separate from that. Being outside and just having fun. That's who Maya was to me. Just a really good time and also a good listener. Someone who could actually sit there and take in what you say and feel your pain, and whatever it is you're feeling, and give you an honest answer. And she was never mean. People have the tendency to glorify someone in death, I think, but when we say that Maya had the biggest heart out of anyone we know, we're not just saying that.
Maya and I were coexistent towards each other toward the end of her life. When we were younger, we were a lot closer, and then we slowly drifted. Though we were always in the same friend group in middle school and high school, our class schedule never aligned, but we always had a deep love for each other. When I was little, I was always jealous of her imagination. I wanted to be able to see the adventure she had created for us, but I couldn't see it the same way as her. She saw herself deep in the jungle while we ran around her backyard, but I couldn't imagine the way she could. I couldn't dream the way she did. But I forgot about our friendship till it was too late. On October 2nd, 2015, Maya took her own life. The following summer, the teen board for the Maya Gold Foundation was created. Julian and I felt called to join. I felt I owed her this.
It felt like something I really just had to do. I mean, I needed some community service hours too, but like Hannah said, it felt like a way to kind of make it up to Maya, and also it felt like a great way to stay connected to her and spend time around people who knew her and cared about her. And what better way to do that than working towards something she really cared about? Now you may be wondering, okay, but what did she care about? Maya traveled to India with her family and became interested in the human trafficking in Nepal after reading Soul by Patricia McCormick. Soul is about a girl in a small village. Most of us read the book before we went on the trip. It's about a girl in a small village in Nepal who lives with her mom and her stepdad. The stepdad sells her into slavery, and the book discusses her journey from Nepal to India and her time spent as a sex slave in a brothel. It's a hard book to get through because it illustrates her perspective in a way that is really raw and really heartbreaking. So after reading this book, Maya wanted to travel to Nepal and volunteer to help end human trafficking. She was as goofy as she was serious, and she was really serious about helping people.
I went to Nepal because Maya couldn't. I felt that I owed her this. I owed my dreaming, imaginative, caring friend this trip.
I actually wanted to go to Nepal immediately after Maya died. I remember trying to convince my parents to let their 15-year-old son drop out of school for a couple months to go, but they weren't very crazy about that idea. I told Elise about it too, so when I heard it was actually happening, I felt like I had no choice but to go.
So we both decided that we wanted to go, and so we're going to skip the long period of preparation that it took to get into the moment that expresses how important and meaningful this trip was for us.
On day 8 of our trip, we woke up and we had a lecture by an Indian professor named Dr. Ashish on Hinduism. Educational lectures have been built into our schedule to help us have a better understanding of different ways of life in Nepal, but the talk didn't go exactly as planned. First of all, this wasn't just some random professor who was traveling 28 hours to give a lecture. Professor Ashish is a friend of Lisa Matthews who met Maya on their trip to India. He spoke about Hindu beliefs such as prefix destiny and accumulative karma, and discussed differences between Western and Hindu ways of life. He brought a lot of these beliefs to light by reflecting on the tragedy we faced when Maya left us. So obviously the conversation was full of emotion, and we ran into a bit of misunderstanding due to cultural differences and a bit of a language barrier.
While he was talking about the practice of accepting death, a few of us started to cry. Mainly because I felt overwhelmed. I felt taken aback, because I was expecting to be talked about Hindu ideology and beliefs, but then we started talking about the tangible, and the tangible was Maya. And as a group, we haven't really discussed Maya's death yet, at least not like this. And the language barrier was really highlighted when Dr. Ashish called me out and said I was crying because I was a common man.
At that point, I was like cringing on the edge of my seat because I kind of saw what was happening and I didn't really know what to do about it. I saw Hana getting really emotional along with some other people, and I realized that the way in which Dr. Ashish was making an example of her was really causing her pain. But I could also tell that Dr. Ashish was just confused. He was talking about Hana in the third person and pointing at her without really understanding that in our culture that's kind of a condescending way to speak about someone. And the whole situation sort of blew up from there. Matthew later said something to me and Hana the other day, though, that we found kind of interesting. His immediate response when he saw all this going on was to go and fix it. So we went to Elise and Noel and to try and figure out what to do. But their response was to let it happen. We've been so busy the whole trip that we hadn't really gotten an opportunity to open up and talk about Hana and let out those emotions, which might not be as fun to let out, but still need to get out. That morning we hadn't been expecting it, but we've agreed that it was still a really healthy thing to have.
Though I couldn't see this at the time, Dr. Ashish brought up some amazing points. That Maya's death brought a group to Nepal, 15 kids who barely even knew each other. We all wish Maya was still here, and we would do anything to have her back. But we can't go back, only forward. Acceptance is something I don't think we will ever really get, but we can look at one positive. Instead of one passionate, caring dreamer, we have 15 who hold Nepal dear to their hearts just like Maya. That's all, folks. Oh, that's Dr. Oh, sorry.
Not really a question. I'm longing to hear a little bit more about that offer situation because it's very touching to me. So I'm just curious about maybe any other anecdotes from that, what have been learning.
I mean, so a lot of what was really stressed in our trip was that we needed educational factors so that we knew why the country was the way it is. So we talked to one professor in Nepal that's from Kathmandu University, and then this is another professor. So we were really expecting just to talk about Hinduism, and learn about it and just have this open dialogue. So it was really confusing when all of a sudden it was we're talking about predisposed destinies and how your parents' karma affects your karma and all of these different things. And then all of a sudden, it was just and that's why Maya died. And you're wait, no, that's what? And so it's just a really overwhelming feeling. But I also think that I don't know, like I said before, it's just I really think that it needed to happen. And we all needed to kind of have that group moment. And I remember when he was she's crying and she's emotional because she's just a common man, she's a common person. He was pointing at me. I didn't even realize that that's just how a professor in India would talk to his students. That's just completely normal there. So it really showed the difference between Western culture. And then I was my name's Hana, I'm not a she. Don't talk to me like that. And it was just what? The whole thing was just a whole.
Yeah, it was also interesting. So after we had we kind of cut it a little early, and then everyone went to go kind of process, and Taylor and I, one of the other girls on the trip, went to go talk to him a little bit after, just to kind of not apologize, but just kind of try and give him an understanding of why that happened, and be yo, we're not offended, we understand what happened. And what we actually learned something that was kind of interesting, which was that he's not even Hindu. He doesn't even practice these beliefs. He was just there to teach us about it. And then that kind of leads into just the idea, which we talked a lot about after, is that the teaching style, especially in India, is just totally different. You wouldn't have a student talking back to the teacher or doing any of the stuff, much less crying and shouting at the teacher. So he was just very taken aback. But it was interesting to listen to him explain all these beliefs and how they relate to us and stuff. And then I didn't even consider that he might not even believe everything that he's talking about. He's just trying to teach us how it is there. So, yeah.
And it was also sorry, I feel I'm ranting a little bit, but I also think it was really interesting that as a group, we were just bonded after that moment. Where we all just let all the emotion, all the buildup kind of out. That was really interesting to see.
Can you share, well, I was there, but can you please share what happened in the afternoon? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I don't really remember because I was just like crying so much, like a baby. Like I was just really crying, and we had scheduled this Tonka art class, so I think we pushed it back a few hours and we got some rest time, and we had like a little group therapy chat, which was nice. And then we all went to the stupa, which is like the big monastery temple. And around the stupa are a bunch of shops, and we went into this place, and this guy gave us this whole lesson on how to make these huge, like, basically mandala, but it's like very specific, and we all just kind of like were
Everyone
drawing.
went in, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's
It's
in,
very-
everyone's dead
it's
silent.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's like art therapy.
Yeah.